So EA, they walked on the stage and said, "Look, guys, Star Wars," and then they didn't actually tell us anything about Star Wars till the end of the conference. Bold move, EA. It paid off because I listened to you show Mass Effect Andromeda.
The aesthetic they're going for there with the actual literal space western, I'm okay with.
Well, my issue with Mass Effect 3 was supposed to end the series.
Like, can we not do that today?
Well, I'm not, shouting at the ending or anything like that. I'm just saying Mass Effect 3 was supposed to end the series.
You mean like Halo 3 was supposed to?
Sure, and I'll bring out the same thing there. Like, when you end a series, the best thing you can do to honor that ending is to not milk it. And this definitely feels like a case of milking it.
Welcome to the video games industry. And you can't even say this is a modern thing because
I'm not saying it at all, but it definitely, because Mass Effect, part of its big thing is it's going to be trilogy and it's going to be all encompassing. And I might not have cared a little bit if this was Mass Effect. It's in the same universe, but it's completely different. But apparently they're bringing back the Mako and some other stuff that were in the old game. It's kind of
it technically is in the same universe, but it is a different galaxy. So I want to know how they're doing that. I'm actually curious about what's going to happen.
So
I'm in. Okay.
All I'm saying is I hope they've learned their lesson, and this time the ending is not a different color filter.
Don't even start with that. Okay, just don't even start with that.
Next game, Need for Speed.
Nobody
don't care
cares.
about cars. Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm pretty sure that game died.
I like The Old Republic, you fucker, and they're adding more single-player content. There's actually people on the forums bitching and moaning because it's not more endgame PvP content, and I am just eating their tears.
Well, their tears are pretty valid. So
the whole point of this game was that it was like a single-player MMO, and that's what I want. I kind of want a single-player MMO, the kind of MMO style, but I don't have to deep play with other people because I'm an antisocial bastard.
This is definitely a game that already failed.
It did not fail.
Kind of trying to keep going at this point feels like beating a dead horse that you've already buried. And by burying, they made it free to play, and it doesn't.
Oh, you mean like World of Warcraft? Are you going to call that a failure because it's free to play now?
It's been losing people for a while now, so.
But you can't just call something a failure because it's free to play.
I can say Tor is a failure because that was one of the promises they made, and then they did it.
Just go on.
So
otherwise,
Unravel,
I'm going to end up strangling you.
Unravel here. I don't really know.
Actually, this was kind of cute. This was actually really cute.
Yeah, it felt like an artsy game, the artsy platformer. I don't really know what to think of it until I see some better gameplay with it.
It looks cute. I'm willing to give it a pass.
This is probably, of all the things I saw, this is probably the best thing I saw from EA minus Star Wars Battlefront.
You're just going to go over Mirror's Edge? Just going to ignore it completely? Because I hope you do. That game gives me so much motion sickness, I swear to God.
Mirror's Edge 2, I don't think I'm going to be able to say...
It's not 2, though. It's something completely different. It's a prequel.
Well, the big issue here is I played Mirror Edge 1. It was just okay. I know it has a big cult following, but I didn't get into the hype. So this is one of those games where I'm definitely going to have to wait and see. And if they improved it in a way that I feel's good, I'll say so. But
I tried playing Mirror's Edge and I literally vomited all over myself.
Well, that seems like something you should get a mop. Plants vs. Zombie 2,
we already talked about blah, 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 blah. Star Wars. Galaxy
of Heroes.
Is what exactly?
It's it's dumb. It's dumb. That's all I'll say.
Let's just talk about the Battlefront.
So, we've gone through everything. Oh, yeah. Sports games, nobody cares.
Well, you don't care. I know plenty of people who do care.
So, yeah.
You just want to talk about Star Wars.
You know what? In this case, I do, because the game looks good.
I am still not convinced. There's no 16-player there's no 16-person multiplayer. The vehicle section are still on rails.
Well, I thought that's one of the things, they showed off was they were going to have the huge battles.
Oh, look, it's Hoth again.
Yeah, Hoth's a great stage. They showed off a couple stages. I'm trying to see if they said...
I'm still not sure. But this is part of my general...
But yeah, from what I've seen, it looks like they're bringing, the big, battles that, the big map battlefields with all the vehicles, and, they're adding support so you can play, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, or random soldier, or the guy in the AT-AT, which is, they showed Battle of Hoth this year. Last year they showed, what was it, Endor?
Yeah, Endor.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of my general policy of not getting too hyped for Star Wars, because I really want that new movie to be good.
Well, luckily this is a video game that doesn't really have much to do with the new movie, unless they decide to add that in at the last minute.
They're going to. They're going to. There's no way they're not.
If anything, I feel,
when does
it'll be DLC or something.
When does the new movie come out again? Next year?
Eventually.
Okay, what's the next stuff we're doing?
Ubisoft. Before we can get into Ubisoft, I have to say, God damn it, Ubisoft, will you stop making an embarrassment out of yourself at these conferences?
That's the best. It's the best part.
I literally had to stop the video because it was just so cringeworthy that I couldn't.
This is the best form of comedy.
Make a fool of themselves. I wasn't laughing. I was just sad. I just wanted to tell them to stop. I just wanted to take them outside, tell them it was going to be okay, and then shoot them in the head and put them out of their miseries. Because I couldn't pay attention to the games when they were just making an embarrassment of themselves. That poor guy, they came down to one guy in the audience who was, in cosplay, and he was like, "Hey, you're a living meme." And I was like, "He's cosplay. Why are you so focused on the word memes? Give us a meme right now. Meme 2015 E3, go for it." And he was like, "I don't know what to do here." And she kind of had to awkwardly back off of him because he clearly didn't want to be in front of the mic like that. And it was so I felt bad for the guy. I legitimately felt bad for this guy that they just embarrassed in front of everyone. So anyways, how about those games?
Listen, I don't really give a fuck about Ubisoft games anymore. I mean, okay, sure, South Park, that actually might be good. Yep,
so South Park, the last one was really good. This one, instead of Lord of the Rings or fantasy or whatever,
it's going to be superheroes.
Yeah, it's going to be superheroes.
That's actually going to be pretty funny.
So,
But
they did a really great job with the last one. I'm 100% sure they're going to do a really great job with this one.
Until they actually give me Beyond Good and Evil 2 in my hands and I can play it.
Never going to happen.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. Not until we get... Not with the stuff that was announced with the Sony conference.
But, well, the Sony conference, we'll get to that.
We'll actually get into that next.
Actually going now through, because... the Crew, it was Cars. It was really bad the first time. I really don't know why they want us to care about their DLC for it. For Honor, they really just kind of had a trailer for this one. They had a gameplay thing, but I didn't really know what to take from it. It looked like, you had kind of a Dark Souls control where you were really in control, and it looked like they had some stances going on there. But it was kind of like Vikings versus Samurai versus Knights in a combat arena thing. I don't really know what to take from it.
Yeah, it almost looks like a Battlefront type of thing.
But the demo, from what I saw, it just felt like that, a really, really thin demo, and without an idea of the scope of what's going on with this, I don't really know what to think. 2205. There we go. I can do numbers. It's the next in the Anno series. I don't really care about it.
What exactly is Anno? I'm not sure.
you basically you build a colony in space.
That actually might be
you
fun.
You gather a resource and then you race to space.
Is it like a 4X type of thing?
I'm not really sure. 4X.
Civilization.
Exploration.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, just without all the fighting. You just kind of go to the moon.
That might be interesting. I wanna actually look at that a bit more.
So.
Okay, now.
Hold on. Just Dance, 2016.
Game of the generation. Fuck Bloodborne. Blood who? Just Dance 2016. Game of the generation. Sold.
I felt really bad because they had like a real artist come out and perform, and he just sounded terrible, like live with the Ubisoft mic. Like the whole performance sounded horrible. Like there was a lot of screeching and squelching from the mics, and I felt bad because like they got done, and I was like, this was terrible, and they were like, congratulations on your top, number one spot on the top 40 radio countdown. I was like, oh, this guy matters. Wow, why did he sound terrible? And that's because Ubisoft made him sound terrible. But yeah, so now again, we have our Rainbow Six games, The Division, Rainbow Six Siege. They basically sold the same trailers again. Even though they are these games, so I would have liked to see them actually go into it a little bit more. With Ubisoft, I think for The Division they had a nice little trailer they showed about their I don't know what they call it, basically a lawless area where you can shoot your allies and you can shoot your friends and you can shoot everybody, and
so basically Dick Zone.
Yeah, it was basically Dick Zone. And they had this really cool setup trailer where all right guys, we're gonna be friends, but at the end you're gonna have a scripted scene where you kill us all. And I was like, okay, that's not how it feels like to play the game. And of course they had Ghost Recon, which was the third of the Tom Clancy games. They're kind of trying to bring back the stealth sort of Splinter Cell-y, but they also, it felt like they were trying to make the stealth shooter game where decide if you want to go commando or if you want to take out your targets stealthily. And it felt really thin watching it. It felt like something I've seen a billion times before.
Memes, though.
But the memes. So that was pretty much it for Ubisoft. The only thing I cared about was South Park.
Okay.
Sony. So Sony kind of had a big conference. They had a lot of name-dropping stuff.
Okay.
Stuff we didn't think was going to happen, but we all wanted.
Okay, you're talking about how Beyond Good and Evil will never happen, and yet The Last Guardian reappeared. Final Fantasy VII Remake confirmed, and Shenmue 3.
Yep.
So don't tell me that Beyond Good and Evil is impossible.
Let's just hit them in order. Last Guardian. They showed an actual gameplay trailer. It felt like
Ico?
It was an Ico team game. From what I saw, there seemed to be a dedicated button to call your ally, the same as in all the other Ico games. You had a really easy-looking puzzle. Your ally doesn't like the thing, so you push the thing off the cliff. Ta-da, you did it. And then they had, a really cinematic, look, the ground's crumbling. We'll show you a cutscene of him getting off the ground.
Listen, Team Ico, they do that, but they do it well.
I'm all for Last Guardian. I love Team Ico's games. They fall into a rare category of games that might be fully arts as opposed to design with art. We've made this argument before.
We've talked about that. But yeah, it actually exists still.
So
despite the fact
big
that
thing was they showed it existed. I expected for all this development time there to be a lot more to show, but it really felt like a very thin kind of vertical slice they were showing off there.
Let's just hope it doesn't fall into Duke Nukem Forever territory.
Well, that's kind of what I'm worried. I'm worried if Sony was like, hey, Team Ico, finish this game now.
Well, at some point...
We need something for E3, go.
At some point, you can actually sympathize with Sony, because how long have they had this?
Well, when we get to, Square Enix, they have a game that's still coming out that's been development hell forever.
It's like, at some point, somebody has to say, okay, look, you've had this for 5 years. Fucking do it.
Yep, so...
Okay, now...
But yes, Horizon Zero Dawn. This was an interesting game. They showed a gameplay trailer, which you could tell was heavily fabricated, and because like the whole time like the character was saying contextual things that would only really matter. Like they felt like they made the lines just for the demo.
That's always a problem with E3 demos.
Yeah, it definitely felt like, I watched the demo at the end of it, and I was like, well, that's not going to be at all in the game. So, I don't, it looked interesting, it looked like it was doing some cool things, but until they show me, a real gameplay game, a real one, I don't know what to think about that one. Disney Infinity, now with Star Wars.
Yay!
So, if you like Disney Infinity... Congrats, you got Star Wars now in 3.0. Firewatch, I don't really, know what to think that much of this one. It was out for the PC, I know, for a while now. I
actually think this.
I haven't heard a whole lot about it.
This actually might be kind of interesting because it's kind of It's got a lot of branching, it's different things. It looks really interesting, and I want to try it out. Honestly.
Yeah, because the thing is, I guess you're like a forest ranger or something.
Yeah, and
you have like a girl voice on the radio who talks to you, and stuff happens. So I don't really know much about it.
I actually think it looks really interesting.
No, I think they grabbed like a really good indie and said, "Hey, we'll give you money to put this on PS4," and that's what's happening here. But it still kind of falls. I have a PC, so it wasn't a big deal for me.
Actually,
if I want to play this game, I'll just play it on PC.
I actually have a story about Hitman.
So, yes, okay. So Hitman, you can go ahead. They're rebooting the franchise.
Again.
Okay,
now here's my story about Hitman.
Alright.
Now, what was the last Hitman game that came out? What was that called?
I don't know. There's like a billion of them.
Well, Google it real fast. Last Hitman game came out.
Alright, here, Hitman history... Hitman.
Let's see.
Video game series. Hitman Sniper 2015.
No, not Sniper. The big console one.
Absolution, right?
Yeah, that was the last big one. Okay, so it's Hitman Absolution. Now I look at it, and I'm talking to a friend, and he's really excited about it. He's a big Hitman fan. He's really excited about it. He's going to get it day one. And I'm like, this game's going to suck. He's like, oh, David, you're so cynical. And it's going to suck. It's going to suck. So he's gone for about a day. He's been playing the game. You know how it works when you get a game. So he comes back online. I say, hey, how was the game? Silence. More silence. And then I read the reply. Shut up. So... I have absolutely no confidence in this game series.
I don't know. From what I played of Hitman Absolution, I liked it. It was,
Have you played any of the older Hitman games?
I have not played the older ones. Like, that was the one Hitman game I played, and in that context, it seemed like a decent game.
And you give me shit for liking Dark Souls 2. At least Dark Souls 2 is a competent game in its own right. Hitman Absolution is a fucking disaster.
Well, I think the big thing here is they are doing a reboot, not a reboot. Reboot. But they're doing a whole reboot. Yeah.
You keep saying it.
Now you got it in my head.
They're doing a whole new rebar.
So they are rebooting reboot.
Actually, they are doing.
They are doing that. Yeah. That was a joke.
We can talk about that later after we're done with E3.
So Hitman. Rebooting the series, trying to give it a new, fresh coat of paint again.
It's gonna suck.
I'm optimistic for it.
It's gonna suck.
this is definitely like we haven't seen enough gameplay to make a call, at least for me. So
it's gonna suck.
Again, I'm gonna wait for gameplay before I make that call. So
all right,
now same with Dark Souls 3. I'm worried because franchise fatigue is hitting, but it could be great. Any of the game, Horizon Zero Dawn, like, obviously their trailer, probably terrible, probably not going to be in the game, but it could still be a great game. So, it's definitely a wait and see. But moving on from there, so, we already said it, but they announced Final Fantasy VII was having an HD remake, and then I think I said somewhere in the, interviews and whatnot that they were thinking about, HD remaking 5 and 6 as well. So, this is something everyone's excited about. I'm not really all that excited about because I think Final Fantasy VII for the original PlayStation is enough of a masterpiece.
Well, to be fair, how many new people have played the game?
Sure, that's the big thing. They're taking something that everyone knows and being like, huzzah, we remade it. And it's
been years, it's been decades, really.
Well, it's also kind of, same thing with all, you look at the movies and how many, old franchises that were dead that they're just bringing back to life,
Well, this isn't...
some with success, like Mad Max, Jurassic World, others, not so much. And it just feels like, this is a bit of a name drop at this point.
It's not really a reboot. God, you got me doing it. It's not a reboot.
He's just rebolting over here.
It's not a reboot, though. It is the same game, and kids these days, God, I sound so old, have not played it. I played it, and I didn't really like it. I thought the Midgar section was probably the most fun, but I want kind of a grittier
Well,
RPG.
This is one of the things, you can still get Final Fantasy VII,
But this is...
there's the PC version, you can still put it into a PlayStation 1. Obviously, I don't think most kids are going to,
have a PlayStation
Mama,
1.
I want a PS1 for Final Fantasy. That's not going to happen, but...
The thing is...
It's not the same way as,
You know what I'm actually really excited about? That they aren't fixing the art at all. It's gonna still be Cloud with his giant fucking fists and itty-bitty pipe cleaner arms. Only HDified. I want to see that so fucking much. I want to see...
Would be dumb.
I want... No, it's gonna happen. They did confirm that. I want to see that so bad. I want to see his fucking giant head and pipe cleaner arms and HD. It's gonna be beautiful.
So... this is, earlier I did harp on about HD re-releases, remakes of older games. This is a completely different issue, so this is one that definitely doesn't offend me.
Because you're a massive hypocrite?
No, because, look, when I went and played Final Fantasy VII, it was way past the hype, this was after I had already built my computer, because I played it on PC, and... in all honesty, it has not aged well.
It really doesn't.
The blocky early PlayStation 1 graphics are not a sight to behold. They are, the little graphic movies they have, those still look pretty good.
The FMVs?
The FMVs. Everything else, not exactly top notch.
I want to see Cloud get molested at that club and
HD. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things, the cross dressing, the
gay raid.
The gay raid. But honestly, it was something that we all knew was eventually going to happen. It was a matter of when, and surprise, it's now.
Okay, so now for the thing that I am the most excited about.
Uncharted 4?
Fuck you.
That's next on the list. Uncharted 4, I saw the demo. My two thoughts was, wow, that is absolutely terrible frame rate. And two, wow, look at all that destructible terrain. How much of that is scripted?
Fuck you. Talk about the real thing that I'm excited about.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate. That's next there. If you, I know how much you love those yearly franchises that you've been all about today. Assassin's Creed, you feeling it? You feeling it, brah? bro? Broski?
I'm this close to taking a nail and driving it through your skull.
I mean, if you want to talk about the time that, Sony got out there and said, hey, we'd like to make a game, but you guys got a Kickstarter, I mean, go ahead. Because that's the best way to make an E3 presentation.
Fuck you. The fact is, I was convinced that the Shenmue series... we're talking about Shenmue 3, obviously.
Yes. So this is Shenmue 3. I'm excited about the game, too. Honestly, I am. But it really kind of irked me that Sony had the balls to come out on E3 and be like, hey, guys, fund our Kickstarter. Like,
How is this any different from from the Capcom test, though?
Because Sony could have very easily just been like, hey, we're going to fund this.
No, but the Capcom test is basically the same thing. It's like, do you like this game? Will you pay for it?
If they really wanted, just to have the Kickstarter, they could have, before E3, said, hey, at E3, if you kickstart this thing, we'll present it at E3. We'll have all this stuff. But instead, at their actual conference, where they're supposed to be telling, people about the new games that are coming out, that they have the balls to come out and say, hey, we'd show you this new game, but first you have to fund it.
Okay, I will agree that it would have been really cool if they had done something like that, like start the Kickstarter like a week before E3.
Yeah, like they should have started it before E3.
And say, if it gets funded, we'll talk about it at E3.
Yeah, like at E3, after it hits funding, we will just go all out on it. Because it was obvious that it was going to be funded. Like, did anyone really have any doubts?
Yes.
Because I definitely didn't. Like, that game hit $2 million the first day.
Yes, I had some serious doubts because the only thing people these days know about Shenmue is that it's a pachinko machine. So I was seriously concerned because I fucking love those games. I mean, okay, I played 2 first. I'll be honest. I played 2 first on the original Xbox. I had to look and struggle to get Shenmue 1 to work because, that was a Dreamcast exclusive.
Yeah.
And, the Dreamcast.
How many people owned a Dream... Like, that's the other thing. Like, how many people have played Shenmue 1? Because I haven't. Like, it was a Dreamcast game, and that was a failed system.
It was a failed system, but... anyway. I love those games so much.
Like, Shenmue 1 was a niche game on a failed system. So it is kind of exciting to see, like, the fact that its Kickstarter, hit its goal in the first day.
And it's like Sony's even bringing over...
Like, it gives me hope that maybe people like good games.
Sony's bringing over Yakuza 5, and they're actually translating
Yeah, like, that was another, like, great thing they did. This is not at E3, but earlier they were like, hey, we heard you guys. We know you want Yakuza 5. We'll translate it for you. And that was a great move, because that is actually an expensive thing to do, considering how much voice acting and all that.
Not just the voice acting, but just all the little item details and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of translation for this game.
But I am so happy that these games actually exist because they are like, they fit that kind of weird niche that I want.
Like when we get to, Square Enix, I have my own like niche game that's getting a sequel that I'm excited about.
But it's like the weird kind of slice of life, almost Animal Crossing-ish, but you can do martial arts and you have to find the man who killed your father.
Yeah, there's also Kung Fu. It's like, because it was kind of like this very like life sim game, but also Kung Fu. And also
QTEs.
Murder drama.
Murder mystery type thing.
I'm excited for Shenmue 3. I'm probably going to get it. I'm probably, I assume at some point they're going to be like, hey, we got the rights for Shenmue 1, so,
Should the Shenmue... Okay, how about this? A Shenmue 1 and 2 HD re-release. How would that work for you?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay, good.
Because that's definitely a case where no one has played Shenmue 1. Like, this is something they have to do to get people to, buy. Like, obviously there's a lot of people who Kickstarter the game. They probably Kickstarted it at the, please give me the game option.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, like, I looked at it and, like, all the big, like $1,000 options to have lunch and free mega swag, like, those are all, like, sold through, and I was like, wow, people really care about this game. How many of them have played it?
Okay, so...
But yeah, so that's everything from Sony. They actually had a pretty good conference, I think.
Because they had dropped, like, the biggest bombshells.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
And of course, a big theme that I've kind of like passed over a little bit is there is now this kind of like acceptance that VR is going to become a thing, and Sony talked a little bit more about Project Morpheus.
I'm still not sold on VR, to be honest.
I haven't tested a VR machine. I've never held an Oculus. I don't, it's definitely one of the things I want to put it on my head and see how it fits before I even say a thing about it.
I just know I'm going to get motion sickness, is the thing. I can do the scanners, which I'm still going to push.
Well, like, because you always have your 3D on your 3DS, right? And that was one of the that was like the last, like, big, this is going to get you motion sickness, and people were getting, like, motion sickness from it. Mm-hmm. So it might work for you. I don't know. Well, it's definitely one of those things
the
for
other
both
thing
of
is,
us.
I can't really wear contacts, and the glasses are kind of an issue.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely...
I can't do contacts because...
Don't worry, you can just get Google glasses. You can have your Scouter.
I will do the Scouter.
All right.
That's augmented reality,
Bringing
not
it back.
virtual reality. I was honestly kind of disappointed with Nintendo's thing.
Nintendo was the most disappointing for me.
Because it's a lot of stuff that...
Like, they announced Star Fox Zero and not a whole lot of anything else.
Well, they announced a lot
like,
of
there were
stuff.
other games, but...
it was all stuff we already
knew about. There was no wow factor. Yeah, there was no wow factor to it.
Now, granted, the World Championship was fucking hysterical.
Oh, no. Like, that was great. Like, I loved watching that. But...
I loved... Reggie got so bodied.
Poor Reggie. His body wasn't ready.
No, it wasn't. And the Mario Maker finals, those were fun.
Yeah, those were hilarious. The whole thing was really great to watch.
That really sold me on the Mario Maker because it's basically like the... it's basically like the... You know those ROM hacks of Mario?
Yeah.
It's basically...
It's basically that, yeah.
It's basically Nintendo looking and saying, oh, so people...
We can make money on DS.
People want that.
Yeah. I think the thing that like finally got it for me was that they had Super Mario Brothers 3 versions of the stages you can make.
Oh, really?
Like, that got me interested, because, like,
so you got
old Mario...
Retro Mario.
That's fine. New Mario, not really that interested.
But the Super Mario 3 art style...
Yeah, that's where I got it. But yeah, so, the other big game from Nintendo that really kind of caught my eye was Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, which is a crossover of the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga games and Paper Mario, which are two absolutely fantastic RPG games.
Not anymore. The newest Paper Mario was fucking terrible. And that was because Miyamoto went down he descended from the heavens and declared that there can be no new characters in the Paper Mario game.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Mario RPGs, with any Mario RPG, is that the new characters, like the Goombina from
it was definitely...
Your Door.
Sticker Star was a huge disappointment because, he looked at the game series and say, hey, we'll use the art assets, but we're not going to make a Paper Mario game with it. And that's essentially what happened.
But they didn't... The new characters, I am really... Those are characters that are always in the Mario RPGs, the new ones.
Well, like, even...
always the best.
Super Paper Mario, like that one was... it was a good game, but it was not what I wanted. I wanted Paper Mario, 3. I wanted Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door.
But the thing is, even with Super Paper Mario, which I owned and I actually had a lot of fun with.
I got that one. It was a good game. It just wasn't
even
Paper
that
Mario.
Had the new characters that I wanted, the funny characters. If you don't add those new characters to the Mario RPGs, there's really nothing.
Yeah, like you have to, make the RPG world something I can like. There's a reason people still love, Super Mario RPG. And all, everyone always like, put Geno in Brawl,
Oh, speaking of that, did you hear that every Brawl character is going to get an amiibo?
Yep, so there's a lot more ways to waste my money.
Well, actually, I bring this up because this shows that there are going to be some characters that are just not going to get into Brawl with that voting. Because there's some characters that just are going to look fucking terrible as amiibos.
Look, until the day Ridley gets into Smash.
The day
Never
Ridley
gonna be
is
satisfied.
in Smash.
Never gonna be satisfied.
Ridley is in Smash. You just can't play as him.
But anyways,
you never said you wanted to play as Ridley, so Nintendo gave you exactly what you wanted.
That is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to play as big old Ridley and just take up the whole stage. I'm Ridley, bitches.
I'm still waiting for... I am going to be so happy when I see the Wonder Red thing on Amazon under sold out.
Yep.
Okay,
But yeah, the other... I'll kind of go through Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. I think my big problem with that is their big gimmicky mechanic. They have this totem effect, which, 3 players climb on top of each other, and it seems like that's the big puzzle they're going to be pushing. But try getting 3 players in the room and being like, all right, guys, we gotta work together and form a totem where only one person's actually doing anything.
Fuck you.
Like, what does the guy in the middle do? Like, I'm not walking around. I'm definitely not shooting the arrows. Like, thanks for inviting me over, guys.
That's why you make the Ganon player.
So, Metroid Prime Federation Force.
That was interesting.
It was interesting, but it was also one of, the biggest, letdowns, because Metroid, their universe was always, this is something everyone knew, is that's the perfect place for Nintendo to jump in to a first-person shooter game.
I like the blast ball. I really do.
So, this game's probably going to be great, but it is kind of potential lost.
Listen. Is it going to be better than fucking that last Metroid game? I don't even remember the name of it. I blocked it.
Other M?
Fuck! You had to remind me.
So.
Is it going to be better than Other M?
I don't know. I think it's going to be nothing like the Metroid games. I think it's going to be its own little thing.
Anyway, let's just go down to Square Enix. And
well, there's still just a couple small things.
Oh, well, there is.
Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer.
Is an Animal Crossing game.
It seems interesting, but it looks really shallow of a game. It definitely is going to suffer from Animal Crossing's, look, I did a thing for 10 seconds, now I'm done with this game.
Yeah.
Except amplified up because, you aren't actually building houses and making relationships. And of course, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. I'm sort of keeping an eye on it because it's essentially Mario Party, and Mario Party 10 looked absolutely terrible. But this one looks like, you get to...
If you have the Amiibos.
Yeah, so it looks like, maybe they're learning that, people don't really want the new Mario Party version they've made. They want the old one.
If you have the Amiibos.
But yeah, it's definitely... that's the same thing with, Mario 10. Hey, we'll give you what you want, but if you have the Amiibos, luckily in my case I do. So.
But also, this wasn't part of E3, but they are renaming Fire Emblem If.
Yes, they showed a little trailer for this, as well as SMT Cross Fire Emblem, which they showed a new trailer for that. I don't know if you saw that at all.
I was avoiding it because that first trailer hurt so bad.
Well, this one you at least kind of get what's going on with the game now. Last trailer, it's we're gonna have some characters jumping around, and we're gonna have some people dancing, and there's gonna be some J-pop, and I'm so what's this game about again?
I just
at least in this time there's kind of an idea. It looks like it's going to be Persona, but instead of Personas, you're summoning Fire Emblem characters.
You see, I wanted it the other way around.
Yeah, I think we all kind of wanted, Fire Emblem
summoning demons from SMT. That's what we all wanted.
I don't know. This game still could be really good, or it could just be, a terrible weeboo fest.
Of course, we are talking about the same. You and I are terrible about that because we are both massive weeaboos.
Yeah, so...
But we're not that big.
So, it's if it's all just kind of fan servicey, probably not going to be into it. But if it does look like, this is going to be an SMT game, I'll buy it.
Maybe. Okay, so...
And of course, you did bring up Fire Emblem Fates now, as it's been recalled. They didn't really talk much about the gameplay, but they did have like a big discussion about stuff that's going to happen earlier. They had like a Japanese
the
extra trailer.
The Japanese direct.
Yeah.
Where you got the castle now and you've got your...
Yeah, they added like essentially Animal Crossing to the mix. Because you have like all this like life sim stuff.
And no, you know what my favorite part is? You know what my absolute favorite part is?
The hot springs? They added hot springs to Fire Emblem. Like, what does that have to do with Fire Emblem?
No, you know what my favorite part is? The Pokemon of me.
Oh yeah. Like, it's just so much like stuff that I'm like, is this really Fire Emblem anymore? And I know you're super excited because you like the all the role playing, but to me, Fire Emblem is a very sacred tactical RPG. You know, it's a strategy RPG.
Fuck you, that didn't sell units.
It did sell units, and the problem
Fire
was...
Emblem Awakening sold more units in America than the entire Fire Emblem franchise did before. In Japan! So
well, that's the thing.
No.
I'm going to counter that one. First off, Fire Emblem never hit America until Fire Emblem 7.
No, I'm saying.
And at that point, the only people who grabbed the game were people who really liked the characters in Smash, like me, and I fell in love with that game. That was a fantastic game. And then, of course, the later games that came out, there was a game for the GameCube. You know, it didn't have a huge print run. It wasn't advertised a whole lot. Of course, there was the Wii one, which nobody had a Wii. And then, after that... they had the 3DS remakes, one that never got to America, or regular DS remakes, one that never saw America, and one that did, but it did really poorly because it was a remake.
No, you misunderstand me. I'm saying...
And then Fire Awakening happened, which, you know, we agreed it saved the franchise. It was supposed to be a swan song.
You misunderstand me. I am saying Awakening sold more copies in America than the entire Fire Emblem franchise ever sold in Japan.
Yes.
So that is a big deal.
I am fully aware of how big of a deal this is. You know, I know all the justifications for the things they're doing.
But you just don't care.
I just, they have not released at all anything about the actual gameplay, like the part where you have to go out and fight things. Like, they have not released a single...
Yes, they have. They've released... Okay.
They've released, like, a little picture of them doing attacks in the videos.
For starters.
But they... Like, I want to see a map.
For starters, enemy units can pair up now.
Yes.
Which is a big deal. Because you were bitching about that earlier.
I was definitely not impressed by pairing up in Awakening. I think that was the most unbalanced mechanic they had.
Well, now it's completely balanced because enemies are going to do the same fucking thing.
Maybe not, because, when you paired units, you had God Unit pairing with God Unit to make Super God Unit. And now, they're going to have to do something very similar.
They've removed weapon usage limits, which, honestly, I think it's a good thing.
Terrible thing.
What point was there to the weapon limit?
Well,
it
was a resource management issue.
It was not a resource management issue. It was simply...
Well, you gotta remember, in Awakening, you could farm as much money and as much experience as you wanted. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. In old Fire Emblems, you couldn't.
Yes, but...
So, you only saw, a shop every 2 or 3 maps. So making, your weapons last as long as you need to was a big deal.
But here's the thing.
There was a part in old games where I would recruit people, not because I wanted them to my team, but because I really wanted that killing edge sword they had.
But here's the thing. Those weapons, those rare weapons that you're talking about, all gamers fall into the same trap that you never use them. It's the final battle. Why aren't you fucking using the silver sword? But what if I need it? That's the thing that always happened in every game.
I am going to contest that point.
Bullshit.
Fire Emblem 7, so the first one that came out, when you get to Eliwood Saga, he starts with a rapier, which had the ability, of course, to pierce armor.
Yes.
And so you were constantly put in situations with armored units where you had to decide, do I do no damage with my sword, like I can do one hit, or I can just straight up kill my guy with my rapier, but, I only have 20 uses of this. And there were definitely parts where you had to use your rapier to keep pushing through.
I'm not talking about being forced to use it. I'm talking about situations where you could use it, or you could take...
But even then, later on in the game, there are definitely points where, like, alright, I have my powerful weapon. Obviously, I don't want to break it, but do I put the guy to half health with my regular weapon, or do I straight up kill him with my super weapon? And there were a lot more of that decisions going on in Fire Emblem 7. Whereas in Fire Emblem Awakening, my main character just had 5 copies of Nosferatu, and that was the only spell I used for the entire game. Like, I didn't even look at those super special weapons, because I never needed to use them. And so that was a flaw in game design.
No, I think that was a good thing, because, like, okay, Sacred Stones, that was what, Fire Emblem 11? 8.
That came after 7?
Okay, so at Fire Emblem 8, you had the one Dragon Stone, and that was it.
Yes.
There was no point in using that character at all, because...
no, because that character can one-shot the boss if you trained her right.
But there was no point in training her, because if the random number god, if Anna decided that she wasn't going to kill in that one hit, that was a waste of the stone right there, and you had like maybe...
Well, you also had staves that repaired the item.
Those are even rarer
yes,
than the
those
rarest.
Are even rarer, but they also had a lot more impact to them, and they made it, and they also helped give you a little more room to say, all right, I can use my super weapon a little bit.
But the point is that
you need to have a challenging enough map that you start to say, oh, you know what, I need to use my powerful weapon here.
But this is what they've done with the unbreakable weapons now. Instead of just them being super weapons, there's actually attribute differences. Like, okay, let's say, for example, Killing Edge. Killing Edge has always done a plus to a crit, right?
Yeah.
Well, now it's also going to have a massive defense penalty. So now you're actually going to have to say, okay, I could kill this guy with the Killing Edge.
Yes, and that's definitely something I like about this swap. This is definitely a strategy thing they've added into it.
So
that I do like.
So this isn't just, these are unbreakable weapons. This is an actual tactical change.
Yes.
But I still love the Pokemon and me aspect where you can pet your units.
But at the same, reflect going back a little bit to, the older system where weapons broke. There was also, if you remember, iron swords broke after like 40 uses, and then silver weapons broke after 20 uses.
Right.
So there was also, even for the regular weapons, there was this kind of like, do I spend money on the big weapon that only has 20 uses but kill things? Or do I, give them an iron sword? And when you also include, like, weapons break into you only can carry so much stuff, do I carry the elixir, or do I carry the extra sword? Or...
I don't necessarily think that's a good thing.
I think that kind of resource management kind of stuff, stuff that you have to decide before the battle ever starts.
I think that was
important.
I think that was more busy work than anything. I think that was more... you have to file your paperwork correctly. There wasn't too much of a...
I think for a strategy game, filing your paperwork's kind of the point.
No, for a strategy game, yes, there
is... There's obviously a tactical element, like when you get to the field, you gotta know how to move, but there's also in-between levels and deciding, how do I level my characters, because I know, like, you went through all the effort to make eugenic super babies.
No, actually I didn't. I just like level grinding.
Fair enough. But that's one of the things, like, when you have to decide between missions, like, do I use, my Manta Cake that turns into a dragon to kill everything, to try to get her those levels, or do I not use her and try to beat these things without the super character?
Okay, that's the other thing, though, because Fire Emblem its whole point is to try to make you okay, with the final death thing. The whole point is try to make you care about the characters,
yes,
right?
And it's very effective.
Not really, because especially with those older games, I found that there were some characters I just didn't care about because I could never justify using them. Because it's like, well, this level, they would be ineffective. Oh, in this level, they're just too high-powered. I want to level up these other guys. I could never justify using those units, so when they did die, it's like, oh, well, okay. Whatever.
Yeah, and there was definitely, I will definitely agree with you on that one. There were a lot of useless units. Those were kind of put there for players who were letting death be death.
And it's like, if you're trying to make me care about the characters...
Because one of the great things about Fire Emblem is that you kind of had that element of, do I let my good unit die? I have these backup units, I can replace them, but they're not very good.
But even that, there would be...
And it's a time issue here.
But there would be also the thing of, I actually like this character arc, too bad I'm never going to really see it.
Yeah,
because...
and that's definitely the issue, like the bigger issue that comes into play with having a lot of these bad characters.
I like this character arc, too bad this character is
but I
useless.
think in Fire Emblem Awakening, I never drew to any of the characters the same way I did in the old ones, because the old ones, what made a character special, a lot of times the characters, we fell in love with were those super units that were miles above. Like, there was something wonderful about Nino, who you get as, like, this level 5, dinky mage, 3 missions before the end, and you have to, level her up to 2020 Sage, where all of a sudden, like, everything's maxed out on her.
I disagree completely.
And that's what made us love Nino, is like, yes. Like,
I don't agree.
There were so many other characters in all the other ones that I loved because they were good units.
You see, I would have looked at Nino, and I would have done that. I would have done all that work, and I would have been like, well, fuck this. I don't care. I don't care if she's a good unit or not. You gave her to me too late in the game for me to get emotionally invested in this character.
Well, the emotional investment definitely doesn't come from the story. It comes from, once you put in all that effort, you get a god character.
No.
And watching her, like, burn through, like, final enemies, watching them die to her, is this blissful feeling that cannot be replaced.
No, I think we're coming at this from two different angles.
And we've agreed that we have very different tastes for this one game.
Because you are looking at it as you like the character because of their stats. I'm coming at it from a point of view of, oh, this character's personality is interesting.
Well, what we do is we add the characterization from those abilities. Like, Nino is powerful, Nino is great, because in the game, Nino is powerful and Nino is great. And there are a lot of other characters who, who fall apart because, in their story. And that's why I agreed with you when I said there are a lot of bad characters. Their story says, yes, I am the greatest swordsman from the West.
I'm talking...
And they have, 2 strengths.
That's not what I meant. I mean...
And, even in the game, you don't care about, their tragic backstory and how they're searching for their long-lost sister or whatever because they're dumb. They're bad units.
Exactly, and I don't like that because I will get invested in, I want to see what happens, but I can't use this unit, so I don't get to see what happens.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with it, but on the flip side to that, if you have never played, Fire Emblem, the Ike story, and you just watch Ike rip through things as just this godlike unit, I think people, who don't have that experience of seeing a unit train up like that, maybe aren't getting the point of what makes Fire Emblem great.
I disagree, but we can.
Yeah,
we'll argue this come 2016 when the game comes out.
This is definitely
going to be a continuing argument.
This is something we are definitely split on.
Actually, you know what my biggest problem with the new Fire Emblem game is going to be? All the really cool looking units are on the weeaboo side.
You brought up that a lot of your favorite units that you like are going to be on the hard mode side of things.
No, I like the hard mode aesthetic side, but the weeaboo side, the side that I hate the aesthetic of, is getting a really awesome looking Pegasus Knight, and it's getting this muscly Oni girl, and it's like, Why couldn't you be over there? Okay,
yeah, so the last conference, Square Enix.
Not the last conference. We still have the PC gaming.
Oh, we do. That's two different lists here.
Square Enix.
So Square Enix, they had a lot of stuff they threw out here. First Star Ocean, integrity and facelessness. I played Star Ocean till the last time.
Wait, is the new Star Ocean game actually coming out? For here?
Yeah, I thought they said it was going to have like a 2016 American release.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Japan, the end of 2015, and Western in 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I guess they are making...
I mean, I assume they wouldn't show it off at, Western E3 if it was never going to see America's shoulder.
Okay, so Star Ocean...
But yeah, so the only Star Ocean game I ever played was Till the End of Time. Josh, if you ever want your copy back, call me. I still have it. It was a great game. I loved it. It was a great, Japanese-style RPG, and I'm hoping that this one is similar, and if it is, I'll give it a shot.
All right. Let's see, what else?
They did a thing on, Rise of the Tomb Raider.
They did a thing about Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy again, and then Kingdom Hearts 3.
I'm sorry, but that ship has sailed for me.
They announced that it is still in development.
Listen, Kingdom Hearts, the only way you can follow the story is if you have bought literally every single different console for the last 15 years.
Yeah, like, since 2 came out, like, you had to have every handheld and, all the PlayStation. It was just dumb. It was...
So
all of this is apparently going to matter, but I think the thing that irked me the most was, besides the story, like, that's the big thing keeping me away from the franchise at this point. But besides that, from a technical aspect, if you looked at the old trailer in the last E3 and compared it to what they showed now, there are two completely different games going on here. So it's come to my attention that they probably didn't really start development for this game until very recently. Which is something they did for another game. They also showed off a lot of it on the C3. Final Fantasy 15 I'm talking about, which, if you remember, was announced that it was supposed to be released the same year that the PlayStation 3 was released. And that one is still in development.
You gotta admire them. You say that as a bad thing, but I think maybe I'm being probably overwhelmingly positive. I'm thinking more along the lines of, like, Resident Evil 4. There was, like, 4 or 5 different Resident Evil 4s before they actually made Resident Evil 4. So you say that as a bad thing. It could be because the original Final Fantasy 15 was shit, and judging by Lightning...
Well, from what I understand, because I followed this game since, the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, this was a game that I, looked excited because, it was, announced at the same time
Lightning.
As, Final Fantasy 13, because it was originally Final Fantasy 13 Versus. I was like, well, that Final Fantasy looks dumb, but this Final Fantasy, they're doing some cool things.
Get in the car, we're hunting chocobos.
Get in the car, we're saving the world. It looks, I played the demo, I liked the demo. Technical aspects, no magic, whatever. I liked it, it looked good, it felt good. But the big thing here is, Final Fantasy 15 had a development, and then development died, and it was literally dead. And all we were told from Square Enix is, yes, we are working on it for years, even though development was in fact dead. And I'm just worried that they may give Kingdom Hearts 3 a similar treatment. They have given us a release date.
Listen, you were talking about how you don't like the story. I honestly think the story is probably the funniest aspect because I just want Disney characters and Final Fantasy characters to just fight the hell.
Well, it'd be great if, the story was, yeah, we're gonna mingle, but the story is, hey, we made 1 billion original characters, and we gave them the most complicated backstories ever.
And we also gave them Xbox Live names.
Yeah, it's like, you have two of the best franchises. You have Disney, goddammit. And then you have, all of Final Fantasy. And you focus on...
Well, I guess Kingdom Hearts 1 is the closest to that dream that we're going to get.
Yeah, like Kingdom Hearts 1 was a great game. And then all the rest of the game was like, hey, we're just gonna be doing our own thing. You Disney characters, you can stay over there. Maybe I'll visit, a set piece of yours, but I don't really care about you.
In Kingdom Hearts 1, there were OCs, Do Not Steal, but...
Yeah, like
those were kind of necessary.
Yeah, well, they had the main character, OC, Do Not Steal, the love interest.
OC, Do Not Steal.
And, of course, the rival.
And the main, bad guy.
Yeah, and then the main bad guy. 4 characters, but I think that's about... that I can justify. Like, that's fine.
That's fine. You need some OC characters when you're doing a crossover like that.
Yeah. It gives us room to enter into the crossover.
Mm-hmm.
But then, beyond that, all the villains in the level were the Disney villains. You had Cloud showing up. You had all that good stuff going on. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 and all the rest of them, they were like, we're going to make all the bosses original villains, and we're going to make and it's kind of fell apart.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the sequel that you're super excited about is Lara Croft Go.
Oh, I'm very excited for... Actually, one good game, a little smaller piece they announced was World of Final Fantasy. I don't know if you saw.
I did not see that. What
I can actually bring this up on the screen here. It was this little cute... let me...
Mute it.
Mute.
What is it?
Where, if I can pause here, you have little cute... There we go. You play as little characters that can go from little cute little chibi things to full-grown, Final Fantasy-style characters. And the mechanics are built around that. So, you could ride on a behemoth as a little cute guy, or you could have a little chocobo ride on your shoulder when you're a big guy. And, that's how you set up your party formations, is you all ride on each other.
That seemed really kind of weird.
It's just the right, mix of weird and cute that I am intrigued to see what they do with it. We don't know anything about the gameplay, but it's enough to intrigue me. And for that, points.
Alright, so Deus Ex is...
Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I loved Deus Ex Human Revolution. It got me into Deus Ex, and I played the old one, which was also really good, the original Deus Ex.
It hasn't aged well, to be honest.
It definitely shows its age, but it still holds up, I think.
Anyway, but the thing is, you're making a sequel to a prequel. There's only going to be so much of that you can do.
Yeah, well, that's the big awkward thing. It does make the endings at the end of the original Deus Ex kind of null and void.
No, it makes the end. It makes these games kind of null and void because the beginning of the original Deus Ex basically says all this hard work you did was for fuck all because the evil corps have taken over.
Yes, and in that aspect, it's not an easy thing to jump over. But I will say that the original Deus Ex prequel had some of the best gameplay, stealth, but also you can go commando, style game. It is one of the best iterations of that kind of style. It definitely did have, here's a bunch of guns. They all kill things in one hit, so have fun, kid. Which was kind of awkward. But I definitely had a lot of fun with it. And I am excited for Mankind Divided, because if it's more of the same, or if it's better than more of the same, I'm going to be satisfied with buying it.
Alright, fair enough. Nier 2, that was...
So that's the last one on the list. That was the big surprise for me personally.
This is a weird thing because, okay, Nier was kind of a weird RPG.
Well, back it up a little bit. Nier was a niche title with a cult following. That's as big as it was. And the actual producers of the game have kind of come out and said, yeah, that's all this was. It didn't sell a whole lot, but it had a pretty strong cult following. And that's enough for us to consider, giving these fans a sequel. And that...
But let's talk about the history of Nier first, because it is...
Well, it is a...
RPG.
Sort of sequel to Drakengard.
Yes.
Which, it's made by the same team that did Drakengard. It has a lot of the same themes.
It's a sequel to a specific ending in Drakengard 3? 2.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
So Drakengard, there's Drakengard 1, 2, 3. Like, I have 3 right over there. I never got to play 1 or 2, though.
Okay, so the ending of Drakengard 2 we're talking about is you're riding the dragon and then you get shot down by...
You pull it back. Not a whole lot of people have played Drakengard at all.
Okay, so you're riding dragons.
So, this is a very... it's almost like a horror game. It's very dystopian in the fact that there aren't happy endings. There are just less bad endings to this game, and there are a lot of endings.
Okay.
And the game is about, you contract with a dragon, and you go and you fight, it's a medieval-ish era game, but depending on where you go, you could end up, with your character just going around killing people in the same world, or there's an ending where you end up in modern day time.
And you get shot down by a fighter
giant jet. Babies going around eating people.
And you get shot down by a fighter jet.
Well, that's the different ending where you also go to Tokyo and you fight a final boss, which is a statue in a rhythm game, a very hard rhythm game.
It's a weird series.
It's definitely a weird series.
Nier was even weirder.
Well, I think the big thing, why Nier matters, for me specifically, and this is definitely, in order to even begin talking about this, spoilers on top of spoilers on top of spoilers. Alright. When you beat Nier, you get the chance to go back and play it from the halfway point.
Almost like a New Game Plus.
Yeah, so it's almost like a New Game Plus, but you start about the halfway point.
And I never understood, was Nier a real-time RPG, or was it turn-based, or what was it?
It was an action RPG.
Okay.
But when you go through the first playthrough, your task, you have to go out and kill large shadows is what they're called.
Large monsters.
Yeah, monsters. And they really are, as far as monsters, because the last scene, the scene right before, where you start off, this giant monster comes in and basically destroys your whole city. One comes in and steals your daughter.
Stop. Pause right there. Now, the interesting thing for me about Nier was that it's basically 2 different games.
Well, that's the point. Like, that's kind of what I'm...
No, I mean literally 2 different games. The Japanese version of Nier was you are a pretty boy.
Well, that's one of the things. In the Japanese version of it, you played a brother, and then the American version you played the father.
But the character design is also design is also changed.
They changed the characters, but other than that, there wasn't a huge difference.
That is a huge difference, though.
Well, within the scene, like, you had the same romances, you had the same... The only thing is now your character's old.
No, but that is a huge difference, because there's a difference between a brother trying to save a sister and a father trying to save a daughter. There's a huge thematic difference that I think the American version is far superior.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that, but in the long term, it's family saving family, and it doesn't affect the gameplay hugely. It does, affect some of the way we interpret it, obviously.
Interpretation of a game like this is kind of important.
Although the canon is still the younger Nier.
Oh, fuck off. Really?
But anyways, irregardless of that, I find it to be less of an issue. But when you first play through...
Is it on the PC or is it just on PlayStation?
Just on PlayStation 3.
Fuck.
As far as I know, anyways. When you play through it,
at least I got
the first time, you go, you fight your bosses, you get to the end, you kill the final boss, and along the way, like, there's all these terrible things that are happening. There's this one, like, city where, that's infested with shadows, and then you gotta beat up all the shadows. There's one where you go into an underworld, this sort of like metalworks factory, and you gotta beat up the shadows infesting the metalworks. There's one where there's this town in the first half of the game where you save, you make a friend with this village of people wearing masks, and now they're being attacked by wolf shadows.
Okay, so what exactly changes when you start the New Game Plus?
When you start the New Game Plus, they add a couple extra cutscenes, and you get the ability to hear what the shadows are saying. And this changes everything, because now, the metalworks factory that was infested with shadows, the metalworks are protecting the shadows, and the one boss, its mother had died, and it's just protecting the kid. And you go and brutally murder it.
Oh, dear.
The town that was infested with shadows was actually a town where shadows and humans were cohabitating with each other. And you show up and ruin that and kill everyone.
So you're still killing everything.
So you blow up the whole town, not killing shadows, but killing nice people.
But you're still doing the exact same quest, just nothing.
It's the exact same game. They've added an extra couple cutscenes that kind of show the perspective of the shadows. The wolf area, the wolves are, it's a giant misunderstanding that the wolves are being hunted in the first place. And, at the end of it, you just feel terrible because you kind of realize that you're the bad guy here.
Okay.
But it doesn't end there.
I heard about what happens at the end, that something happens and your save game is, deleted for good.
So that's spoilers. What I mean by spoilers on top of the spoilers, at the end of the game, you have a choice of to save your partner, and, you can either kill yourself, or there's another option, which killing yourself just brings her back to life with the same issues you had before, or you can literally erase your existence, in which case that would cure that character, bring her back and cure of the disease she was inflicted of.
And probably fix the shadow things that you all fucked up.
No. That's kind of permanent.
Still fucked up.
That's permanent. That's you fucked up. You actually, if you read through the lines, what you find out is you've actually ended the world in doing what you've done. Because the shadows were actually the old people, and they found a way to separate their souls from their bodies, and the shadows are actually just the souls, and you were the bodies, which eventually gain sentience.
That's weird.
But you don't have the ability to breathe. The only way you can repopulate is from the shadows.
That's
so he kills off everyone.
Weird.
That's one of the things. There's a lot of just weird, Japanesey kind of, culture shock things going on there. But anyways, if you choose the option to erase yourself, it erases every save file you have of that character. And if you try to make a new character with the same name, it doesn't let you do it.
Ooh, that's cool.
So it's really gimmicky, but
it's an effective gimmick.
It's an extremely effective gimmick that puts Nier in one of those games where I kind of feel the game itself is the act of playing, the act of going through that second story and just realizing how awful you've been, is something that no other game's really been able to, say. There have been games like Spec Ops where it's what, you didn't have to shoot all those guys.
But yes, you did in case
But, that's how you played the game. In this case, this one, you played the game, you thought you were doing right, and then, it hits you like a rock. No, you were wrong.
Well, the thing I kind of prefer that Nier thing, because at least with Nier, you were attacked. You were not really. You went through it because you didn't understand. With Spec Ops, you understand completely because
you understand completely, but
you're not given the choice. You're just do it.
It's either play the game or just turn it off, which is not the effect you really want.
Yeah.
But with Nier, the other thing is you still have to do all the things. Even though they're terrible, you still have to do them to save your daughter or sister, depending on what it is.
But actually, I don't think, does the character hear it or does the player actually?
Just the player. The character is blind rage.
Because because that's the big difference. Because
that's kind of how it thematically ties it together. Nier was a great game. It's a cult hit. It's gameplay wise, it's actually pretty offensive. It's really clunky and hard to play. And if not for this one redeeming gimmick, probably wouldn't, be the cult hit it is.
Okay, so they're making a sequel, but here's the interesting thing about the sequel.
Yes, here's the big thing.
Here's the big thing. It's being made by Platinum.
It's being made by Platinum. So what they said was, you know what? We like what we did with Nier. We like what we did with all the story and all of that. We're going to give you more of that. But we realized the action was terrible.
So we're going to give it to Platinum.
So we got Platinum, guys. Hey, yeah, let's do it. Big money.
They like these crazy, weird cult hits.
And that was the point where I was just like, oh my gosh. Did they just make, the best game ever?
No, the best game ever would be a Spider-Man game made by Platinum.
The best game ever is Metal Gear Solid 2. So.
No. What? Do you want people to actively not listen to us?
But, it was probably the most exciting
announcement.
For me personally, even though this is going to be still a small niche title, which is not going to get a whole lot of sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on. So that's all of Square Enix.
I would like to point out about the Capcom thing there. They did say more stuff about Street Fighter.
Yes. A couple of, they did reiterate on some games we already knew that weren't on the list. But yeah, stuff like, Street Fighter 5, they had some new demos out for...
Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's going to be a fun game.
Yep. So I know you showed me the nice little video.
Oh, yeah, the nice little GIF.
They got breast physics to the max.
They got Team Ninja on that shit.
So it was
let me
exciting.
See these cards. Let me see what they got. And so you got the PC show. Okay.
So the last one was the PC gaming show, which was not a conference. It was a gaming show, which they had a guy sitting in almost like a late night
talk show
kind of thing. And they had a lot of promotions of some very PC stuff, graphics cards.
Yep. Okay, so we got Killing Floor
2. Yes, Killing Floor 2.
Killing Floor was actually a fairly decent game.
Yes, I actually, if you look here, Killing Floor is the only game I have gotten that is an early access game.
Oh, really?
So it is currently in early access. I got it because a friend of mine was like, hey, play this game with me. And that's enough of a reason to play a game.
Yeah.
And I actually really loved Killing Floor. Just Killing Floor 2. I didn't play 1, but what I played of 2, it looks and feels fantastic to play. I'm absolutely in love with it.
Okay, so Killing Floor 2.
But yes, so they've the big thing they showed was they announced they was not going to reset the stats for us beta players.
Oh, that's nice.
Essentially. And then the last thing is they have added extra gore to one of the most gore games out there.
Because that's always what you need.
Yeah, they had a big whole deal where they talked about how they added, magical physics about making guts spill. So
yeah.
Then they proceeded to show off a trailer for Rising Storm,
which is
Vietnam.
Oh.
It basically looks like Vietnam war sim.
Is it a Vietnam MOBA?
No. There were a lot of MOBAs, though.
Can we just skip the MOBAs because I don't give a fuck about them?
Well, I don't care either. They had Star Citizen that showed up, which all I really know about Star Citizen is it is the most expensive indie game ever.
It's a space sim.
Yes. Well, they had a trailer of it last year, I think. That was really cool to look at. They have big goals and a really big budget too, because according to them, they've raised $84 million.
I just want to see gameplay. They haven't really shown me gameplay yet.
Yeah. Well, the big thing that, I kind of question is, it's the most expensive indie game, but I think at $84 million, you kind of stop being an indie game.
Well, it's not the budget, it's how many people are working on it. Never mind.
I at this point, they are an independent developer still. I don't think they're tied to a publisher or not. But that's the only thing, really separating this from a AAA is semantics.
Just go on with your flashcards, monkey boy.
They had more talk on Deus Ex Mankind Divided. The great thing about the talk show, sitting down talking, is they actually had a chance to talk about what they were doing with the game. And I already said my spiel on Deus Ex Montreal, but what I saw on the PC
Deus Ex Montreal?
Montreal. It's made by Eidos Montreal. I have that on the notes. Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Deus Ex Montreal would be the most fucking boring game.
So
please stay on the...
I know, this is the next game on one you've been interested in, Total War Warhammer.
Oh, thank God.
So, you may...
Total Warhammer. It's a Total War game with Warhammer Fantasy.
They actually made that joke. They asked the developers, are we allowed to call it Total Warhammer? And they were like, well, these are two separate IPs, and, we gotta keep them. But if you feel like it...
It's Total Warhammer.
It's Total Warhammer.
It's Warhammer. It's Warhammer Fantasy, and it's Total War gameplay. It's made by the guys who did the 40K game, the 40K RTSs. It's gonna be good. That's
what I'm kind of getting. It's going to be good if you're interested in either Total War or Warhammer.
It's gonna be
right down your alley.
Okay, so what's the next on your
the next thing? They talked a little bit about Microsoft 10, and the same guy who walked out, on the big Xbox conference, who ran that, showed up and said, "Hey,
Microsoft
here at Microsoft, we still have a commitment to PC gamers. Like, please buy Microsoft 10. It's our new thing."
You still have a commitment to PC gamers. I'm sure you. Did he say it with a straight face?
He did.
He must have been drunk.
So it's one of those things, how much of it is, hey, we're releasing Windows 10, and how much of it is, oh, wow, PC gaming's kind of taken off in a huge way as of late.
They don't care. Microsoft doesn't care. Just keep going.
But, they went on to have a bunch of Microsoft-owned party games. They had Killer Instinct, which they're releasing on PC.
Killer Instinct on PC, that is pretty cool, because I've been following it. I don't play it because I don't have a Xbox One, obviously. But it looks like a decent fighting game. Yeah,
so, I heard from my friends who are big fighting games, they are excited about this. The next big one, Fable Legends on PC.
Next.
It will be free to play. That was the big announcement they kind of showed.
It's a Fable game.
I'm not all that interested. I do kind of like what they're doing with the asymmetric play, but
I really like the Fable mainline games, but it's getting harder and harder.
I mean, this is definitely not Fable. It's not Fable 1, not Fable 2.
It's not even Fable 3, really.
Yeah, so it's going to be very different, but that doesn't inherently mean bad. It just means different. The big thing that kind of irked me was the free-to-play, which has its stigmas.
Yeah.
Then Gigantic Games, Motiga Games came out and talked about Gigantic, which is a first-person shooter MOBA. We don't care about MOBAs, but it is one of those Microsoft first parties that they are, announcing for PC.
MOBAs have, really boring names.
MOBAs are just kind of boring games.
Yeah.
Sorry, League players.
It's all the fun of clicking with an RTS without any of the joy of building.
And then the last one for the Microsoft sort of portion is they had Gears of War: The Ultimate Edition coming to PC, which
it's just a port.
That was, it is going to be a port, but it does kind of interest me a lot more because originally Gears of War was an Xbox exclusive. And now it's moving on to the new platform being Windows. And obviously this is a cash-in with their Windows 10. But this will be the first chance for someone like me who's never played Gears of War because I don't buy Xboxes.
But here's the thing. It's not really a jump in platform when it's going from Xbox to PC. That's not really a jump in platform. That's just... It's like saying, oh, this 3DS game is coming to the Wii U.
I think it's kind of big because it's going from a console to PC. So
it's still going from one Microsoft property to basically another Microsoft property.
It's still the same. Well, no, because this is going on PC, but you'll probably still be able to play it if you don't have Windows.
Yeah, that's
So
what's the next one?
Anyways, this is the most important one. European Truck Simulator, now making American Truck Simulator.
That actually might be enjoyable if you like Desert Bus.
If you like Desert Bus.
Okay, but seriously, I can't fault the European Truck Simulators because they're good at what they do.
Apparently, they're popular. I don't
get
the appeal at all.
There is a certain appeal to it. It's the type of person who really likes The Sims, who likes the SimCity, who likes the simulation games.
Yeah. Well, like, my big issue has always been with simulations games. These are all kind of like, let's make a game really hard to control and call it a simulator.
Well,
and there is fun to be had in, figuring out that kind of, it's the same reason people like Star Wars TIE Fighter, right?
Yeah.
So.
That's a space sim, though.
But that's, you get to fly a TIE Fighter at the end of Mastering. This, you get to drive a truck.
Well, to be fair, how many people really get to drive trucks like that?
Yeah. But it's still driving a truck.
Alright.
I guess the cool thing is now we get to drive across America.
Yeah.
So.
Freedom!
Anyways, the next big one, Eve, Valkyrie. Yep.
Is that the land-based one?
That is the VR game they're essentially making. That's made for VR from the get-go. So it's sort of set in the Eve universe, but it's not.
It's not It's not a PowerPoint simulator.
So it's not a PowerPoint simulation. It is an actual.
Excuse me, not PowerPoint. Access. Because that's what Eve is.
Yeah, it pretty much is Spreadsheets the game.
Of course,
but this is going to be completely different. This is going to be a space shooter that is designed from the ground up to be used with VR.
Now, to be fair, Eve, for being a spreadsheet simulator, has some really interesting things going on just because of the player-run economy.
Yeah.
With every ship being...
Well, the big issue with that is you can buy and sell and trade
with every
in-game money into real money.
Well, not just that, but with literally every ship being player-owned, it makes for a very different experience. So, there's that.
Yeah. Alright, moving on. Ion by Rocketworks, which, if you don't know, it was the same guy who did DayZ. The guy who left DayZ because he couldn't do it for something, whatever. He said he had a game he was making. He didn't really say anything about his game. He just kind of talked about how, oops, sorry guys, I messed up on DayZ. My bad.
So a non-story.
So it's really a non-story. But the next one was interesting. Strafe by Pixel Titans, which had a Kickstarter that, successful Kickstarter.
Strafe again. I remember hearing
it's essentially blocky Doom. So it's basically a homage to the old Dooms, the old Quake style shooter. But it's got this kind of really kind of blocky aesthetic going on to it. And from what I saw, they actually had a gameplay demo, and for the same reason I like the Doom, the actual Doom new remake, I was interested in this.
Okay, fair enough.
Next, Pillars of Eternity is getting DLC.
Not much to say about that. Pillars is a good game.
Yeah, Pillars is a good game.
It getting an expansion.
They said this is going to be a pretty significant expansion. So
should be good.
There was a trailer for Planet Coaster, which, as far as I can tell, is just Roller Coaster Tycoon.
In space?
But not in space.
Oh.
Guild Wars 2 is getting an expansion.
Well, let's be fair. The city skylines is basically SimCity, except actually good again.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that Planet Coaster is actually that. Obviously, all we got was a
trailer.
Essentially, an FMV trailer. There was no gameplay going on.
But there's hope it could be the city skylines.
But as long as I can make my death roller coasters,
yeah,
I'll pay $2 for it.
So, what was getting an expansion?
Guild Wars 2 is getting a pretty major expansion.
Okay.
From what I saw, if you play Guild Wars 2, it looks like it's a pretty big expansion, but I have no interest in the game.
It's not a bad game.
So, I don't know. I've never got into MMOs.
Yeah, I can tell. You're not the MMO type.
So, I mean, there was one MMO that I played for a very long time.
What was it?
It was literally the worst MMO ever. MapleStory.
Oh my god, really?
I played it all through, like, middle school and high school.
Jesus Christ.
It was the most horrific. Another time I will get into MapleStory, and I'm actually thinking of doing a bit. I was going to go back to MapleStory just to see how it's changed.
Jesus Christ.
And then, make a video on, like...
You should do that. I would watch that.
I totally want to do that. Because one of the things in MapleStory is I never got to the third job. I played this for 4 years. Alright. Level cap is like 200. I never got to level 70. It's just so grindy. Like, I would spend a day, like 8 hours just grinding, get like 20% of a level.
Jesus. Jesus.
So, but yeah, I'll sometime, hopefully, I'll go into that. Hitman. It's coming to PC.
It's still gonna suck.
So, we talked about it, but they announced it was coming to PC. Armor 3 is getting an expansion.
Cool.
And that is where I run out of cards. So
actually, there is something I did want to talk about. XCOM 2 is a PC exclusive.
Yes. I think they went into more on the PC gaming show, but out of cards.
And
I definitely don't remember.
Let's see, PC gaming show.
And it's not really. Yeah, it wasn't. They just kind of said, "Hey, we have one." Actually, what if I click this?
Let's see, AMD, blah blah blah.
Yeah, they didn't really.
Anyway, yeah,
there were probably others. I don't really know. Oh, Nexon was in it. Nexon was the guys who made MapleStory, the terrible game I played. I know they're making a MapleStory like 2 sort of thing. Maybe that. I hope not, because fuck MapleStory.
So Snake Tits is going to be a PC exclusive.
Yeah. So.
I have a friend who loves XCOM but is so annoyed about the Snake Tits. So every time I talk to him, I link him another picture.
I actually really like XCOM. It is what I love about my strategy tactical RPGs.
You know what I love about this XCOM 2, though?
Yes.
Is that it's basically, okay, who fucked up playing Hardcore Impossible? Because that's basically the story. And I love it. It's just like, well, somebody fucked up playing this, now what?
Yeah, I'm excited. I love the hell out of the original XCOM for the same reasons I love Fire Emblem. So hopefully, we have at least one strategy RPG tactical game that still remains a strategy tactical RPG game.
Wait for XCOM 2 to introduce, like, you have to seduce the Snake Tits.
You have to seduce the Snake Tits. Like, we would let you play missions, but you can play Cake Maker 20,015.
You gotta play American Truck Simulator 2015 and seduce the snake ladies.
Don't worry, guys. We have a hot spring. You can hang out with the guys at the hot spring.
How long have we been recording for?
Yeah, it's over 2.5 hours. So
you might want to split this into 2 parts, actually.
I'll see if we can. Otherwise, congrats. We have a 2-hour podcast.
Woo!
I'll probably split it, but. That was E3 in conclusion. I don't know if you have any final thoughts of E3 itself. Like, were you excited about this year? Were you not excited?
I honestly don't like getting excited about E3 because it's always just trailers, and I never see anything I really want to see. And they never announced a Persona 5 release date, so fuck. All they said is it's coming in 2015. Honest.
I think for me personally, the one show I really wanted to be good, which was the Nintendo show, because last year
Nintendo show blew everything out of the water.
Yeah, last year Nintendo sold me on a Wii U, and this year, like, they went out of their way to remind us that the NX is coming.
Yeah.
And it feels bad.
It wasn't as bad as the Ubisoft show.
So, Ubisoft was just as terrible as last year. If this becomes a reoccurring trend, I'm just gonna not watch their presentations.
I'm actually gonna start watching them if they keep this up. I'm gonna get the popcorn and...
This was a good year for, revival of the dead.
Yeah.
And it definitely, the big thing I think I took away for this is going to be a year for RPGs. Because this was a year, E3, where you had a conference from Bethesda, the leaders of the Western RPG, and you had a conference from Sony, not Sony, Square Enix, the leaders of, the Japanese RPG, both announcing mainline games.
I'm not sure if Square Enix really is the leader anymore of the Japanese RPG market. Final Fantasy...
Well, I don't think there's another company that really, fills that role.
There isn't a big one that, you can think of, but honestly, my JRPG choice of late, if it's a choice between a Final Fantasy game or an SMT game, I'm always going to take the SMT game.
Oh, sure. Atlas is still there making games, but I don't think they are at the forefront. I still think people care. If they announced Final Fantasy VII, and everyone stood up and started applauding, and I was kind of like, really? Square Enix still matters.
It still matters, but...
Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 15, Nier 2, I still think it's the best of the announcements, but...
Okay, I mean, I can understand, but it's the Lightning trilogy, it really...
sure, it hurt.
It cost a lot of faith.
Yeah,
I am seriously... To me, at this point, Square... I can't take Square at their word anymore. I have to wait 6 months after Final Fantasy 15 is released, and then actually look at it and see what people say.
If I hadn't played the demo, I would in that same camp. But this definitely, it's not a year for Nintendo. I don't think it's a year for Microsoft.
It's definitely not a year for PC gaming, for as excited as we were about it.
I was a little excited about it. But it feels like this is going to be Sony's year.
Again.
Last year I felt really strongly about Nintendo. Nintendo was the one I thought walked away the strongest. And this year they are walking away the weakest.
Well, actually, you could make an argument that everybody really kind of won this year. There wasn't any company that...
Well, last year I definitely felt like gaming as a whole won. This year I don't think gaming as a whole won. I think Sony, is walking away in good shape. I think Nintendo is kind of flopping on itself.
And Microsoft is just
I think Microsoft is just trying to hold course with an Xbox that's not doing as well as they want it to.
Yeah.
They do have some exclusives that people are genuinely interested in, but I think that's the only thing holding it together at this point. And obviously PC is in its own corner doing its own thing.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So, but that's E3.
Yeah.
So
hopefully next time we'll have something else to talk about, and it won't be 6 months from now.
I guess, is there anything you want to add before we close it up?
Not really. Hopefully next time will be next week, and I'll be able to talk about some tabletop RPG stuff.
All right. I'm excited to play a bunch of games I bought at the Steam sale and give a big, hey, I did these things. So
like and subscribe, hopefully.
Comment, and subscribe. Then unsubscribed, unlike, uncomment, and then resubscribe, and recomment.
Exactly.
Keep doing that ad infinitum until you die.
So we can have the money.
Or re-release a new video. Only if you do it enough will we make a new video. Haha, got you by the balls with that one.
Free-to-play market.
Free-to-play market. Alright, that's been the Silvercast.
Yep.
Next time, see ya.
See ya.